I think the good thing about classical formulas is you don't actually use a lot of herbs. So throughout time, there's been different like materia medica, different herb books written and different formula books written over time. Classically, like the Shang the first materia medica for single herbs is actually quite small. Then as you get into later years, you get like thousands and tens of thousands of herbs used, tens of thousands of formulas in formula books. But classically, it's actually quite small because you have these repeating structures. If you have a formula which revives the yang of the center, the warmth of the center, and removes cold dampness, you don't need any other formula to do that. Mm-hmm. You've got that core fundamental structure there. And then because all of these structures are so closely related, it's such a modular system in the Shang it's actually much, much quicker to learn those formulas, because you really do understand that through understanding these fundamental structures, you can make little tweaks to actually alter how they function. Rather than needing to learn completely new formulas, you can make these little tweaks. It's almost like learning your formulas, like learning really key signposts on a map. And then by making little tweaks, you link these kind of signposts up to create a bigger kind of map to really understand the whole geography of the area that you're working on. So if you're in a town, if you're learning 6 conformations and the primary formula to revive the function of each 6 conformation, then you can, and they're like the main roads within the town, you can then start to learn little side streets in between them, rather than just being told a load of street names and, rather than just being given a map with all the little side streets and so on. You can learn the key fundamental structures first, the key fundamental streets to orientate yourself around them, and then you can fill in all the details from that. And that becomes a lot easier. Like, it is a long-term process, but you can see a structure to it very, very clearly. Like if we look at the formula Tang, which is to treat a Taiyang issue, the formula Tang has multiple variations. One of the things people always talk about when they talk about the Shang and learn how there's like 70 or so variations. I can't remember how many exactly, but there's a lot of variations of Tang, and a lot of them are just changing the dose of one herb to alter the emphasis a little bit. So you have Tang. If you double the amount of Baishao in it, it becomes the formula Tang, which then treats abdominal cramping. If you then add another herb, Tang, to it, it becomes the formula Tang, which is then actually nourishing the center and building blood a lot more, and it's much more cooling for the center. Whereas on the flip side, if you take the Baishao out of that formula, it becomes Tang, which is to treat an irregular heart. So you're actually reviving the yang to the point where the heart can maintain a regular heartbeat. So just with these little tweaks, you can really, as long as you understand the fundamental function of Taiyang and what Tang is doing, you can understand these little tweaks, because these herbs are all units reviving physiology. So if you make these little tweaks, you can make quite a fundamental shift in how the formula is working. And that can actually help inform your understanding of physiology as well. Because the Shang doesn't talk about physiology much, but it gives you a very clear method for prescribing formulas. When you look at the formulas, and when you understand them as units of physiology, basically supporting units of physiology, you can see by the changes in formulas and through an understanding of the herbs and how adding, removing, increasing, decreasing doses of those herbs changes the structure of the formula, you can understand how that's changing physiology. So you can really see them as guides, as kind of maps for physiology.